And thank you, everyone, for logging on wherever you may be. Matt McSports Fix. I am your host, Matt McClusky. We have a big show here for you today. We'll talk Frontier League baseball, softball, lacrosse, and we'll get into a little SU basketball. It's May, but we have some news, pseudo-news anyway, on Tyler Ennis, Jeremy Grant, and CJ Fair for that matter. So that's all ahead this week on Matt McSports Fix, powered by newvisions.com. But let's start with baseball and softball sectionals, announced earlier this week. And I wanted to run through some of the teams that may have a good chance, or at least should have a good chance, at advancing in sectional play, heck, maybe even a state title or two out of the group. In baseball, Class A, Watertown earns a 1 seed, and the Cyclones will now face in the opening round, I look at my cheat sheet a little bit here, ESM or Camden on Saturday over the weekend. I expect the Cyclones to win that game and advance out further. JD is looming in Class A along with CBA and even a New Hartford team that was actually pretty good this season. But still, Coach Covey's team usually does well in sectional play. Watertown actually has dealt with a lot of injuries this season. Got off to a pretty decent start down south in Myrtle Beach in early April. In Frontier League play, a couple stumbles here and there, maybe more so than expected. But Cyclones earned that 1 seed. I expect them to go far in sectional play. And again, they open up at the fairgrounds over the weekend here, Memorial Day weekend, in Watertown. Also in baseball, Class C, South Louis had a fantastic season once again, earning its 3rd straight Class C title in Frontier League play. In sectional play, a 1 seed. I expect the Falcons also to go far. They open up with Cato Meridian or Thousand Islands. TI and Cato will play this week. South Louis will play the winner this coming weekend. So those are a couple teams that you should be expecting to go far in baseball. Also, Beaver River. Beaver's a little bit further out of maybe our viewing area, obviously out in Lewis County further out, but I expect Beaver River, a 1 seed, to also go far in Class C. Now that's the division, or that's the class that is consistently broken up between C1 and C2 because there are so many teams involved. And so South Louis gets the 1 seed on the upper echelon of the class. Beaver River gets the 1 seed on the bottom part. Both should get through at least to the Final Four in sectional play, and they may in fact play each other for the overall crown later on in May. Good baseball teams here in the North Country. The delay to the season, I think a lot of these teams, and maybe even just baseball and softball in general, went off the radar a little bit. It was delayed by about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and a lot of rainouts since then. But there are some teams that should go pretty far once we get going here. And again, sectionals actually start this week. In softball, General Brown in Class B, fantastic season once again for the Lions, and I do expect General Brown to roll through. They are the 3 seed, are the Lions. Very talented, very experienced. Don't forget the Pickens sisters. Katie Pickens, by the way, was just a monster on the mound this season. Lions should go pretty far. Also in Class C, Sandy Creek, Comets consistently earning top seeds and going very far. Sandy Creek in Class C should really make some noise once again. And in Class D, I don't know if we will end up getting a sectional champ out of this group, but I found the seeding for Class D to be a little interesting in softball. Lafargeville and Alexandria, much lower seeded than I thought. Lafargeville got the 5 seed. Alexandria, you see the screen grab, got the 6 seed. Those teams could easily end up in sectional finals, could end up in state play, but with that type of seeding, I don't know if it'll happen. Certainly lower than expected, at least in my eyes. I thought both teams would get a little higher up. Unfortunately now, the road for sectional championships for Lafargeville and the Purple Ghosts, kind of difficult. Could still very well happen, but a little more difficult than I thought. It's exciting to have this time of the year, and remember, Frontier League playoffs did not happen this season. That delay to the start of the season and rainouts early on forced Frontier League officials to make a decision. They decided, let's just nix the playoffs, have the season, and then get to sectional play. So this is the first tournament-style format for a lot of these teams. One and done. Win or go home. It's exciting, but that lack of experience from the playoffs may actually hurt some of the teams from our area. I don't know if it necessarily will. That might be just an excuse, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on. But rattling through again quick, Watertown in baseball expect to do some damage. South Louis also to do damage. And Beaver River in Class C. I think we'll end up seeing South Louis versus Beaver River at some point down the line. And then in softball, General Brown and Sandy Creek, 2 of the teams that, because of the draw, because of the seeds, I expect to advance on really far. in their respective classes. Exciting. We'll have it covered here for you, of course, each and every week. Hopefully in a couple weeks from now, we're talking about sectional champs and maybe even state champs out of these two groups. We'll have to wait and see, but the action starts now. Check your local listings, so to speak, to get down to the fields and support our North Country teams. And actually, supporting our North Country teams is the topic when we get back after this commercial break. Lacrosse, boys and girls, we are going to have a fantastic weekend in lacrosse for both boys and girls because teams from the North Country are vying for final appearances in Class B and Class C for, again, both boys and girls. We are guaranteed to have teams in the finals because of the way the matchups are going. Next week at the Dome, North Country will be well represented. We'll explain it all next here on Matt McSports Fix, powered by newvisions.com. Final Four weekend in boys and girls lacrosse. A number of teams from our area still competing, still hoping on and holding on to those title aspirations. Let's talk boys lacrosse first. Carthage, the Comets and Coach Kirk Benaquatro and Paul Bracey and Bailey Wilkinson. Another very successful season. Great run in Class B. Also want to highlight Watertown, which unfortunately lost earlier this week to New Hartford at home. Our cameras were able to get out and get some highlights. And New Hartford, it's this winner-go-home scenario. It's the same as the NCAA tournament or any other postseason tournament for that matter. If you're not truly familiar with sectional play in lacrosse, it's winner-go-home. New Hartford, got out early and just really stayed in front for the majority of the game. It was not a runaway. It was not a blowout. Watertown had its chances, but New Hartford in the end was just too much, taking out the Cyclones. So unfortunately, Watertown's season ended a little early, at least earlier than expected or hoped. But a great year for the Cyclones, turning to girls lacrosse. A number of teams still playing, and a number of teams still playing each other. In Class B, 3-seed Carthage taking on 2-seed Watertown in the Final Four, with the winner going on to the Dome next week to face either JD or CBA, and that'll be Tuesday at the Carrier Dome. We are guaranteed at least one of those two teams from our area competing for a title next week. Very exciting. Now, as for that game in Liverpool, Cyclones and Comets played twice this season, obviously, being in the same Frontier League, and Watertown won both. Fairly easy in the first one, actually just a one-goal win, 9-8 for Watertown late in the season. This game, though, Watertown has been very consistent all year. Carthage, on the other hand, was actually a little, I don't want to say inconsistent, but struggled a little bit, at least for Carthage, at least for their standards in Carthage for the players. As the season went on, Carthage got much better. And to this point, Comets are much different than you may have thought just a month ago. So this game between the Cyclones and Comets will be very good, very close, and it should be very exciting. Look forward to that game. Again, winner goes on to the Dome for the Class B crown, where it will face either CBA or JD. CBA is the 1 seed, so you expect it to be CBA, but you never know. Good luck to both Watertown and Carthage. We will have it covered next week. I really can't wait for that one. Also in Class C, 2 North Country teams facing each other in the Final Four. It'll be 3-seed South Jeff taking on 7-seed General Brown. South Jeff with that 3-seed kind of surprised me. I mentioned it last week. I know there's point systems and scheduling based this and that. I understand that the Section 3 has its own way of coming up with seeding, but I really thought South Jeff earned at least a 2-seed given the way the season went. Ended up with a 3, still made the Final Four, still a great chance at a title, but kind of surprised me. As for General Brown, the Lions were the 7 seed, actually played twice this week to get to this point. Earlier this week, beating 2-seed Marcellus. Great win for the Lions. Obviously, that's a mini upset if you can consider it. So the Lions advance on to the Final Four, obviously to take on the Spartans. Great game. Winner of that one will also go to the Dome on Tuesday for the Class C crown. So you are guaranteed 2 teams in girls lacrosse will be playing for championships, obviously Class B and Class C, and they're both in the Dome Tuesday back-to-back, a little doubleheader action. So if you are a fan of girls or boys lacrosse, or rather, mostly I guess for girls lacrosse for this scenario because it's just girls lacrosse on Tuesday, it would be a good trip to get to the Dome and check out and root for either Watertown, Carthage, South Jeff, or General Brown. Great games, great seasons, and nice to see that we have teams representing the North Country this late into the season. We're in Memorial Day, we're going to crown champs. Northern teams, North Country teams, if I can talk, that'd be nice. North Country teams will be represented well, and I look forward to being there Tuesday at the Dome. Hopefully you'll get there. If you can't, we'll certainly have it covered for you right here next week on Matt McSports Fix. And we're going to also take a commercial break. But around the bend, we're going to flip from lacrosse and baseball and softball. We're going to talk basketball. It's Memorial Day weekend, but we had some developments professionally that have an impact locally, at least central New York-wise, in terms of Syracuse. Jeremy Grant, CJ Fair, Tyler Ennis. Where will they be picked in next month's NBA draft? We found out a little bit more as to where their destinations could be, and we'll explain that next right here on Matt McSports Fix, powered by newvisions.com. Help us help you by you helping us. Get your business's name placed on our commercials during the show each and every week. And look at that right up on the screen. newvisions@gmail.com. newvisions@gmail.com. Your business's name could be highlighted here as we spotlight North Country teams, coaches, and communities each and every week. We need your help. You need our help. Let's come together for some synergy, some nice help between two sides putting this program on. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk a little more sports. Basketball. NBA draft lottery was announced this past week. Milwaukee thought to be getting the number one pick overall because it was the worst team in the NBA this season. Unfortunately, that went to Cleveland. So Milwaukee was so bad all year, and it gets the second pick in the draft next month. Third pick will go to Philadelphia. Now, what does this mean? Why are we talking about it here on a local show? Well, Tyler Ennis, Jeremy Grant, CJ Fair, all Syracuse players, all on to the next level, are or will be impacted by what was revealed earlier this week in regard to the draft lottery. We don't know where any of them will go, but mock drafts and reading and listening to NBA experts and scouts and GMs and everything else, we have a better idea of where they will fall. Now you see Jeremy Grant right there, competed earlier this week, or actually 2 weeks ago, in the NBA Draft Combine. Buzz is similar to him as it was about a month ago and about during the season as well. A lot of people pegged Grant as an NBA player. He's got the body, he's got the mold, he has the lineage. His family, his dad and his uncle were in the NBA for successful decade-long careers each. So there is stock there with Jeremy Grant. The problem is, from basically February on, he's been late first round, 20th to just at the end of the first round, and that's where we're at right now. Draft lottery really did not have a big impact on where he will go, at least according to mock drafts, for whatever that means. But if you look at it, the average for Jeremy Grant right now, again, the Syracuse sophomore who's going pro, is probably between 25 and the very end of the first round. Not great, but it's still first round, which means guaranteed contract. That's a big deal. People talk about going number one or in the lottery. If you're not in the lottery, you still want to go in the first round. Grant is likely to do that based on the recent mock drafts coming off of the draft lottery. So good news for him, although you would still like to see his stock rise. At least it looks like he will be a first rounder. Tyler Ennis, on the other hand, the point guard out of Canada, freshman who tore up for Jim Boeheim's club this season, was a top 10 pick by most draft experts, by most mock drafts for a long time this season. Somehow, and I don't really get this, after the draft lottery came out again earlier this week, Ennis has kind of slid a little bit. Most mock drafts still have him in the top 14, top 15. I have, however, seen Tyler Ennis' name pop up in the 20s now. Very strange, but I guess it goes by the fact the lottery, when the ping pong balls came all out, it did not go the way people thought it would. And so some of the teams that need point guards are further back or higher up, and it really messed things up a little bit. And supposedly, somehow, it actually has affected Tyler Ennis' stock. So what was once considered a lock for the lottery, Ennis is now considered a lock for the first round, but it could be anywhere from 15, 14 to 25. And I've seen Ennis' name now in just the last couple of days at pick 24 to Charlotte, pick 25. So we'll have to wait and see. That is going to be the interesting point in a storyline on draft night next month on ESPN for the draft. Ennis will be in New York City. He will be in the green room, and we know how that can go. They put the camera on the guy, sitting at the table, agent, family around, and sweat starts trickling down. Pick after pick, camera gets closer, things get hotter, lights get brighter. So I don't want that to be the case for Ennis, because personally, I think he's a great player. I think he made the right decision in going pro because he's got all those attributes that you want in a point guard. He's kind of a you-first guy. He's really deceptively quick, can play defense. A lot of people bypass that aspect because SU plays 2-3 zone, but he's got it all in my opinion. I think he's going to be great, but I think he could be in one for those long draft nights, and that's unfortunate, especially if you are an SU fan. And lastly, CJ Fair. Unfortunately, from last year all the way through this season, CJ has not been a first-round guy. It looks like that's going to be the case again. It looks like that will actually be the ultimate case, as CJ will likely go in the second round. That means non-guaranteed money. It also means he may slip all the way out of the draft. Hard to believe that could be the case for an ACC preseason player of the year, first team All-ACC, a guy that led Syracuse to the remarkable 25-0 start, a guy who has improved every single season at Syracuse. Obviously, I have a little affinity for CJ Fair, to the way he plays the game, the way he improved in his time at SU. He's a great basketball player. He's a pro, but he's probably going in the second round, and it could be a long night for him. He won't be in New York City. The cameras will not be on him. Ultimately, I think Fair will get in the NBA, and I think he'll be pretty successful as a reserve spark plug guy. But unfortunately, it won't be first round for CJ, it looks like. Grant, probably. Tyler Ennis, definitely. But I think all three will be later than they all thought when the season ended, which is it's sad to see. You don't want to see that. These guys, there's a lot of fans out there that looked at Ennis and Grant and said they're not ready, and there was some vitriol sent to them, and there was some bad thoughts, some negativity about their decisions to go pro. Really, who would turn down that? When you have people telling you you're going in the first round, it's guaranteed millions of dollars. And the other aspect, people always say, well, Tyler Ennis or Jeremy Grant needed another year to work on basketball. They're going pro. They are going to get more time to work on their game than they've ever had in their lives. You can improve when you get in the NBA. People don't seem to understand that. It can happen. It happens a lot. I think it will happen for both of these guys, in Ennis and Grant. I just don't think that they will be in the top 14. Lottery now, Grant, no way. Ennis, I think that's starting to slip a little bit. It's interesting to see. But we have another month of NBA draft coverage. Who knows what can happen. But for right now, it might be dicey come draft night. All right, let's hit a quick break. We'll be right back to wrap up this edition of Matt Mick Sports Fix, powered by newvisions.com. And we are back to close up shop. I want to say this, thank you. Thank you for logging on. Thank you for allowing us to do this each and every week. It's a lot of fun for all of us. And again, and I say this every week, but it really is. It's a chance to spotlight, to highlight players, teams, coaches, communities in our area. This is kind of a rare thing around here, and we are getting it going. We're evolving, developing, and we really appreciate the clicks. We do want your help. If you are a business, newvisions@gmail.com. There, ooh, look at that right there. Newvisions@gmail.com. Also, if you want us to highlight a specific game, player, team, coach, whatever it may be, email me, mattmicksportsfix@yahoo.com. Right there on your screen, mattmicksportsfix@yahoo.com. We can't do this without your help in some aspect, and we do want your feedback. Let us know. Again, don't be too critical of me. I can't take that. My ego's not so good. Anyway, though, let's wrap up shop. Next week, we will talk about lacrosse again, as we will have, hopefully, sectional champs to discuss, and in baseball and softball. As we started the show with, I do think teams like Watertown in baseball and South Louis, Beaver River, softball, General Brown, Sandy Creek, some of the teams that will go far, we will hopefully be talking about sectional champs for them as well, or at least sectional games still being played. Hopefully. We'll have that, and I'm sure a lot more. So please, log on each and every week. We'll be back. For everyone behind the scenes, I'm Matt McClusky. This is another edition of Matt Mick Sports Fix, powered by newvisions.com.